and welcome to Crucial Conversations. I'm your girl, Naya.
Hey, y'all, I'm Dion.
Hi, I'm Kay.
Hello, I'm Joy.
Today, we will discuss how happy in love turns into I'm not so happy in this relationship. Going from asking Alexa to play Let's Get Married by Jagged Edge to Alexa, please play Papers by Usher. We are about to discuss
Here's
the hard
Papers by
decision.
Usher on Amazon Music.
Alexa. Alexa,
Now
stop.
that was hilarious.
We have to use
I was
Yes.
just gonna say
Yes.
we have to use
We're
that one.
carrying
That was
on,
too
people. We're
cute.
carrying on.
Oh my God,
We
that
are
was
about to discuss the hard decisions to call it quits, picking yourself back up and getting back to life and getting back to reality. To help us with this conversation, we decided to phone a friend. Our guest has courageously placed her heartache, pain, her come up, and lessons learned onto paper, penning the most entertaining blog and published book titled I Now Pronounce You Divorced. This book is a candid tale about breaking up and breaking through. She's everyone's favorite homegirl who has the privilege to know her. I am happy to welcome someone who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Ladies, let's welcome Sherese Seevers.
Hey,
Hey, Reese.
girls.
homegirl in the house with the fly fedora.
Yes. The
Yes.
Welcome
Love
to
the
our
homegirl,
group
hat.
the
chat.
homegirl.
Love the hat.
Yes,
Thank you.
welcome to
Hey,
our group chat.
Y'all look amazing.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
as do you. We're so happy you could join us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
We are
We are too,
too.
because we read your blog
Let's
right
let's
before
Girl,
do it.
this.
girl.
Reese,
And
how did you find the time to even write this in the midst of you slanging houses and chefing meals? Like,
I had to do it. So I knew I wanted to write something about my divorce, but I didn't know how it was going to happen. So I was actually following Eric Thomas. Do y'all know Eric Thomas, the
mhm.
motivational speaker guy? And he posted one Monday morning, he said, name three things you're going to accomplish this week. And I just wrote on there, I said, I want to revise my listing presentation, I want to work on my book, and I want to start a blog. So he responded, and I was a fangirl, like, oh my God, Eric Thomas responded to me. Um, and he said, what's the name of your blog? And I sat there and I was like, I don't know. So I sat there for a few minutes and I was like, you need to blog about your divorce. And I now pronounce you divorced just as I was typing, it just came out. And when I looked back at it, I was like, that's it.
That's
And
Mhm.
catchy.
I
And it's
literally went to
perfect.
Starbucks that day and started writing. And I knocked out the first episode just while I was sitting there. I just kept going for it. So
So this is
Wow.
natural to you, like your writing style, because I can't wait for everybody to go to your blog and just the words just flow, but it just seems like you've been
mhm.
writing forever. Do you have a
Thank
background in
you.
writing, journalism,
Kind
English?
of,
Like,
sorta, yeah.
yeah,
So
okay.
I won my first essay contest in fifth grade.
Oh, okay. Like, she ain't new to this.
And so that started it. And then I majored in English in college. So got a lot of writing done there, obviously. Don't love to read, but I love to write, which is a little weird.
So, people that haven't had the privilege of your blog, can you kind of give us your story and your black background?
I would have never thought that we were going to get divorced. So when we stood up and exchanged those vows in 2006, no one could have ever told me that we were going to get a divorce at all. So I was a little, I knew that we were having problems in our marriage. I thought they were just problems. I thought they were, you know, like, all right, we got it. This is the rough patch everyone tells you about. We're just, we just got to dig deep and push through it. And he was already gone, so
Mhm.
I thought that we were fixing it and he had already checked out. So my divorce, I would say in that regard, was a little bit of, I was a little blindsided by it, right? Because even though I knew we had problems, I just thought we were gonna, like, put our gloves on,
Mhm.
get ready, take our,
Persevere.
You thought till
go
death do
for.
you part meant Like
Mhm.
you all were going to end it for the long haul.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I think a lot of the rawness and some of the pain that you can see in those pages comes from that because I didn't know that that was happening.
Mm.
Shocker of
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
all. Yeah. Um,
And
would you say that hindsight, that there were any red flags that you
Oh,
were blinded by love, maybe, and didn't see,
oh,
or
girl, we should have never gotten married.
okay,
Okay.
I know that now, but I think that's why also it's easy for me to talk about it now. But
okay,
mhm.
yeah, we should have never gotten married. We were just not, I don't know, we loved each other. We definitely loved each other, but we were never really in love, like that in love.
Mhm.
You know what? I am gonna bust the windows out your car kind of love.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like there was never any of that kind of passion underneath it all.
hmm,
And so I can look back at that and see, and I can just tell, like we're just totally different. He's, I'm not gonna call him a square, but he's
But you
a
did.
lot more laced up than I am.
Okay.
He's a little more tightly
You said
wound than I am.
safe.
I'm
Like you
like,
described him as safe.
Right. But see,
okay.
that's so interesting because do you think that like being in love is a requirement to get married, especially knowing that people fall in and out of love all the time? Like, do you think it's necessary to start there?
for me, it is.
Yeah.
For me, it is. And I know that people marry for all types of different reasons. For me, I've got to have that connection with you,
Mhm.
that like that you can see from across the room. I've got to have that. And it's funny because one of my first kind of in separation relationships that I had, it didn't last long, child, because we were going down that same road. And that poor
Right.
thing, he was very into me, and which is, you know, like we like that. Like we want to feel loved and wanted and all of that stuff. But once I started seeing that I was kind of repeating the same
Yeah.
thing that I did with my ex, I had to break up with him. So
Mhm.
and again, it was because I didn't feel those warm and fuzzies like butterflies. I just
Yeah.
decided to be with him because it made sense.
Right.
You know, like he was into me. He told me how much he liked me and all of this stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, he's a good guy. Like, let's do
I
it.
always get curious to ask anybody that I come across that has a relationship or had a relationship, how would you rate out of the three things? Like, how would you rate love, attraction, and compatibility? Like, in what order?
Mm.
That's a good
That's a
question.
good
Ooh, you
question.
went
I
down
think that's a
on
good
me.
question
Mhm.
for everybody.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's
Let's
like for
let's talk about
anybody in
it. Let's
general. And
talk
I
about it.
always think about that even for my own personal. So like somebody that's, in it and has done their due diligence in the research and the statistics and all like, and then mixing it with your own personal, what would you say out of all of it moving
Go ahead,
forward? What
What
would
are
homegirl.
the
you
three?
say?
Love,
What are the three
It's
again?
love,
compatibility, and what?
attraction, and
Love.
Love,
attraction.
attraction, and compatibility.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Love,
homegirl.
attraction,
Okay, so
compatibility.
mine, compatibility is probably number one because we have to, I'm very big on this connection vibe kind of thing. So like I have to like be able to feel like you're my homeboy too, but
Okay.
my homeboy that I want to do it to.
Yes.
I kind of I got to
Very
feel that
important.
compatibility part, and then it would be
The
um
attraction, based on
no,
what
then
you
that
just
would
said.
make me love you.
Mhm.
Oh,
So
okay.
then now I'm like, oh, he's so, oh. So now I love you. And then it would be the attraction
Yeah,
part, I guess.
Okay.
I'm the
That I'm
same.
attaching that to attractive because I love fat boys and stuff like so.
I remember you saying you were a
Yeah,
chubby
I'm a
chaser.
chubby
Did
chaser.
say that you
All
were a
day.
chubby
I'm
chaser.
the same as Reese. Like for me, it would be compatibility first because I think that sometimes in relationships you can potentially fall in and out of love with each other. But as long as you have that compatibility and friendship, like that can sustain you through those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it'll be love because I want to love you. I don't give a, you know. Um, and then I think it's attraction. Like attraction for me is not that big.
Mm. And I see, I feel like you can say that because you've been married for 577 years, which is a
How
beautiful
long
thing.
has it been?
That's 500.
It's
I
been a
just told
long
you,
time.
Oh,
Reed,
you just said, I'm sorry.
577 years. For me, and I'm working on this, my number one is attraction.
I knew you were going to say that.
You just have to what
Why'd you say
masculine
that?
and alpha.
Why'd you say that?
I need to be just attracted, just walk into a room every day and just be like, oh my, you know, that's just very important to me. So I lead with that. And then comes love, and then comes compatibility. That's been my track record in relationships.
The recipe for divorce, basically.
Right.
The
That
recipe
is
So,
for divorce.
like the
but I'm
concoction.
keeping it real. You know what I mean? I'm keeping it real. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I have to be like
yeah.
5,000% attracted. And then like I am just, just want to be head over heels in love. And I'm the one who's like, you know, can go for potential and be like, oh, well, he has all of this, the foundation is there. Like we can get there. I can work with that. It's because I love him and I'm super attracted to him. As I get older, I've always understood how important compatibility is, but them two things be leading. I don't know,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
be leading. So compatibility is very important, kids. Okay.
Yeah. I would
And yeah.
say, I would say for me, compatibility is number one. Like it's so important that we can connect and that I feel like I can be my authentic self with you. And then attraction would be second because sex is very important to me. I have to be sexually attracted to you. Like I have to want to, have sex with you. And then love. And love, while I'm not saying love is not important, but I know that there's different stages of love. And so there's first that butterflies, like, oh, every time I see him, like, oh, and that fades at some point. And actually when it gets to that point, like becomes more important. It's like I have to like you.
Yeah.
And that leads back to the compatibility part where it's like, I like you. And then if I like you and I'm sexually attracted to you, then I'm going to have a level of love for you anyway. And so those are my three.
But
One of
so
my
that was
favorite,
enough.
related to this, one of my, an interesting line from your blog, you say, you often wonder how many people get married and know that divorce is inevitable, like off top, like, and you being at weddings and sitting there, just saying like, that's not gonna last. And they know it's not gonna last.
Some
And
people
I can
just
see you
check
at
a
people's
box.
weddings
Take a
saying,
bet.
this is not going to last. Nice.
Listen, I've had my money. I've got my money on some right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna
That's
leave
it.
that right there.
So now that you went through the marriage and then divorce and understanding that you all never should have gotten married, has that changed what you look for in a man now?
Mhm.
How does that
Absolutely.
change?
Absolutely. I'm grateful for the fact that I'm able to reflect on the marriage and really that understand that we really just weren't compatible in that way. It makes the disappointment of the divorce a lot easier to deal with because um you know it was just I don't know, it almost seemed forced. And what's really funny is that a lot of my good girlfriends after the fact, they were just kind of like, whew, they were kind of relieved that we broke up because they were saying things like, yeah, it just seemed like you were just putting on this front of this, you just wanted to be this happily married church going woman and blah, blah, blah. And it just didn't seem authentic. And I'm like, well, y'all picked the fine time to tell me. Why didn't you tell me while this was happening? But, I understand that's a hard thing to say.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because I think even if they would have told you while you were still in it, like, how would you have really reacted to that? You're not.
And what would
Do you think that you would have left based off of your friends' feedback
I
in
don't think
viewing
I
your
would have
relationship?
left, but it would have given me something to think about.
Yeah.
And I kind of had some of those moments, like I didn't realize how everything was coming off to other people. So even when I had a conversation with my aunts before, and I don't know if this is in the blog or if it's in the book, but there was a time that I was talking to my aunt about something, just some decision, like a financial decision that needed to be made. And I'm like, well, I need to talk to him about it. And she's like, I don't know why you wear the pants over there. And
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
put that in there.
Yeah, that was the blog.
I was literally like, really? I had no idea. Like, I had no idea. And then when I started thinking about it, I was like, you know what? You are kind of calling the plays. And that was one of those things. And that's cool, not to say that, you know, women can't do that or, you know, but that was not really the type of marriage that I wanted. So when you asked about, you know, kind of changing how you deal with men now or dating, I definitely need a different type of man.
Like an alpha man.
I need him.
An alpha man, yeah.
I need him.
I do, because sometimes Reese really does need to sit down and okay.
You don't want to lead. You
And I'll be
want
like,
that
okay,
alpha
baby,
man.
okay, you got it.
So you had said that divorce, it forced you to figure out your haves and your have-nots, and to also, it kind of helped you differentiate between settling and over compromising. How do you find that balance from compromising but not settling for less than what you feel like you're worth?
I'm still looking for it, Naya. I'm like, honestly, I'm still looking for it. And it's funny because, you know, a lot of times we look at this grass being so much greener on the other side. So I'm kind of the hybrid amongst my girlfriends. So I have some married friends who have never been separated or divorced, and I've got some single girlfriends who have never been married, who have always wanted to be married, you know, all of that stuff. And then there's me, who's been able to tap dance on both sides. And I do always say to them that I personally think that the grass is greener on the married side. But it's hard, you know, like dating in 2020 is
very difficult. Very difficult.
It's challenging just because, I mean, there's all of this competition and women are so much more forward than they used to be. And women are, you know, they're doing a lot. They're making it hard for the nice little sweet girl that wants to be courted over here. Like,
Courting has gone out of the window because women are throwing themselves at men.
And they're doing the courting.
They're doing the courting. They're chasing.
They are chasing.
So many men want to assume the position of being an alpha man, but with that inherently, in my opinion, comes the chase and being that wolf and being the hunt and courting the woman and, you know, doing all of the things. So if you are sitting back and allowing a woman to come after you, to me, that doesn't align. That's misaligned. It's the complete opposite. So you're the alpha man, but you want the woman to chase you. So are you the lion or not? You know?
What are you?
What are you?
So that brings us something else that you said in your blog. You said that you think that it's important for women to cover their men before sending him out into the world.
How did I know you were going to bring this up? Yes, I still stand by that.
So this includes like the compliments and stroking egos. Why don't you educate us, Reese? What do you mean about covering him before he goes into the world?
I will just say, in my personal experience, so that statement honestly came from this whole 5 love languages concept. And I think we've all heard of that. So what I was basically doing is loving him in the way that I wanted to be loved. So I love receiving gifts and acts of service. So I was doing that for him all the time. Like, it didn't matter. Like, I would be out, I would grab something for him. I would set up game nights and cook all this food for us. I would just do all this stuff. But really, he just wanted me to say, babe, I appreciate you, babe. Thank you for waking up and going to work for us every day. Babe, thank you just for taking out that trash. Babe, thank you. That's what he wanted. Now, I thought that I was doing that in my actions, but
Right.
my words were not saying that. And my words weren't saying that because as a wife, I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, right? So I wasn't, you know,
And you
coming.
all
Do you
never
think?
never
Do you
had
think?
that conversation and talked about like what was important to each other, because I feel like that's a common
Yeah, yeah.
misconception
We
and
didn't.
disconnect.
We
We
didn't.
did.
Do you
And it
think
was
that
too
it?
late. By the
Do
time that came up, it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. So, do you think that if you had done that, if you had understood that and practiced that, that it would have changed the outcome at all?
I think so. I think that I think that we would have still had the challenges that we had, but I think that it would have given him a little more ammunition to fight. So I
The
think
power
that
of a compliment.
Yeah.
for some people, it means so much.
And
And
it leaves the door open for when somebody else is coming giving them compliments and they're not
yeah,
getting it at home
well,
from the
that's the
person that they
thing. That's the thing. So I'm not saying that. So when I made that statement about covering them, I meant it in a way of knowing kind of what's on the other side of that lack of a compliment.
Right.
I have literally seen women target married men, like going after them deliberately and filling in the blanks. So what ends up happening is this woman gets the playbook. She gets the brochure because the husband, once he's receiving these compliments and he's got a little more pep in his step and he's, he's giggling a little bit, right? He starts letting that guard down more and more and more to her. So now he's telling her the things that he should be telling me. So he's telling her, she don't do this. She don't compliment me. She doesn't do, whatever that list of things is that I don't do. He's now telling her,
that
and now she's doing
infuriates
the
me
shit.
just listening to it.
When I
Just
read
hearing
that, I
him.
was
And
like, let's
she's
find him.
doing
Let's
it.
ride
Right.
out.
Let's find her.
Right,
She's doing it like for extra credit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's like, oh, he likes this. So now all of a sudden, she's like, oh, yeah, I picked this so and so up for you. Or, oh, yeah, I know you like those little raisin cookies. So I was just,
And a simple
I was in the
conversation
neighborhood.
where it should have been focused, could have helped resolve all of that. So
Yeah.
communication is so important.
It's so important.
I think the opposite of what you said. So you're saying that you feel that if you would have gave those compliments, that it would have changed the outcome. But I think, well, I don't know about yours personally, but I think that there are some relationships that, regardless if you're doing, because I know that there are women who are doing all the right things within their marriage,
true.
and they still have the same outcome as you. And so they're sitting there like, well, damn, I did the compliments, you weren't getting weekly, monthly, annual sex. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was checking all the boxes and the outcome is not going to be different because for some men it's in them. And I think on the other side, I think that there are men where, yeah, a compliment, it could have changed the fight in him to work for, his marriage, relationship, what have you. But so in that, I know that, December was a horrible time for you and he brought this to your attention and you said that you felt shamed in a sense because you were stripped from this title. Knowing what you know now, what would you say to that Reese, those years ago? Because there are women who stay in relationships for the sake of having the title of, I'm his wife, I'm his girl. Would you still feel the same? Like, would you feel shamed, or would it kind of be a moment of not relief, but like a breath of fresh air, if you will?
So it would probably still be shame for me. And the reason why is because I really took pride in being a good wife. So for me, it was, and a lot of that might be attached to examples of other women who, outside looking in, I'm like, but she ain't even like so comparison, which is really bad, which is really bad. That's something
But
that
we do it.
that I work on daily. But one thing I know for sure, I may not have been a perfect wife to him, but I was a damn good wife.
Right.
I was a good wife. And the things that I was not good at, I was willing to get better at.
Yeah.
If I knew what those things were. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it would probably still feel shameful. I would probably still feel some shame just because of the pride that I took in that position. And it's the pride that I still take in it. Like being a wife for me is a beautiful thing. And it is very fulfilling and it's challenging at times, but it's extremely rewarding. And it's something that I long to be again.
So, and I hear, like, even in your blog, and I hear a lot of women, like, when a marriage fails, women take on like, it's a failure. Like, I failed the marriage or what I did wrong. And I don't see, and is there a part of you that feels like that you didn't fail? He failed the marriage.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Like that wasn't, I mean, if you did everything in your power to make this, marriage work and you did your best and your heart, maybe your love languages were different, but he should have understood your love language as well and say, okay, she's acts of service. And so I'm getting this from her. And so I just kind of got the sense that you kind of took on that as a failure for you instead of it being a failure for him.
I am so glad you said that because someone else brought that up to me, who followed the blog, and kept reading things. And it was a man. And he literally stopped reading it one day. Like he was in front of me reading it. And he literally stopped one day and he's like, why do you keep doing this? Why do you keep you're putting it all on you? It was not all. So he was like a little mad, like it was not all your fault. Like he made a decision to do what he did and you can't take that. And I was just like, wow.
It's eye-opening, right?
Yeah, it really was because I didn't even realize that I was portraying it that way. It was just really how I was feeling about it. But yes, definitely I was very resentful for a long time I was resentful towards him about the way he handled it. I just thought it could have been handled and that I deserved for it to be handled in a different way. And when I say handled, I mean the effort put into trying to fix it instead of just making me disposable.
Right.
And even with him allowing himself to open up to another woman, like that's not something that happens by mistake. Like you opened yourself up, you allowed this woman to come in and you allowed yourself to receive the things that she was doing. And so I look at it like he failed your marriage.
Right.
That wasn't you, that was him.
Yeah.
Because I think that's 10 times worse. I think, it's not giving passes, but there are some people that's going to cheat, but it's that emotional connection for me that I feel is like way more hurtful when you're engaging into conversations and, you guys are sharing your values, your wants in life and things. And then when you start, giving off that list, like you said, like she's not doing this, she's not doing
and don't
that.
talk about me to the other woman.
I don't know how she didn't burn. I don't know how you didn't burn.
Don't talk about me.
You are so much better than me. There would have been Windex. There would have been gasoline.
Wait, what you do with the Windex?
How dare you speak my name?
We can talk about that offline.
I'm just saying.
Because I might need to know one day what to do with it.
I mean, the easiest way to look at it is like a friendship. Even if you have a friendship, like a females friendships or even homeboys or what have you, you never want that. If it's a group of people, you never like the idea of someone in your crew, like, having sidebars about you. And to me, it's
Yeah.
the same concept, because in a marriage, your friends, like your best friends, are supposed to be, even if you're not best friend, you're friends. So, that's like you're talking shit about me to someone else, So I think even if we reduce it just to a friendship level and take away the whole marriage thing, it's just disrespectful as a friend, period.
I think that's the difference between a boy and a man, because I think that a
Absolutely.
boy will have those sidebar conversations and saying what my girl's not doing. A man, regardless, respects his home and will not mention, so sorry to call your ex a boy, but
Basically, she's saying
you're a
there's levels
boy.
to it. There's
He
levels.
was a
You're gonna be in
boy.
this
Now,
group.
does he know about your blogs and your
Right.
books?
Did he read it?
He knows. I remember
So
reading
that
that.
is like $1 million question. I personally think that he has. I definitely think that his new wife has.
Oh, of course.
Because
for
he had
No.
way too many friends in
all
common.
her friends, her family, please know that
Her
They
family.
probably gonna watch this this
okay.
episode.
They are
Listen,
tracking
I'm
everything.
just saying they might have their notifications turned on. I don't know.
You know what I mean? Push notifications. Yes, activate.
But we have not had a conversation about that. And I think that speaks to how things worked in our marriage as well. Like, we didn't have a conversation about it. So that day that I left the Starbucks after I wrote the first episode, I talked to him and I said, hey, listen, I'm writing this blog. It's about our divorce. I wanted to give you a heads up. I would love to have your blessing, blah, blah, blah. And he gave me his blessing.
So would you have moved
I
forward?
would have sent out a mass text. Read it.
He said it. And listen, I took it a step further because I'm a teacher's pet. I said, and if you want to write your version of it, I will publish it.
Feel free. Okay. So my question to you though is, had he not given his blessing, would you have still moved forward and released it and written about it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but
I'm
to me,
answering for her like
everybody's
I
saying
know,
it like so
but-
matter of factly, but
I would have.
basically like asked for his blessing. So I don't know. That might have been like
It was a courtesy.
a courtesy. Okay.
So maybe we can take the word blessing out. But yeah, it was definitely a courtesy because I knew I had to release it. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do that is because while I was grieving and mourning the loss of my marriage, I was seeking help. So I was Googling books on divorce and this and that. And I never saw one. All of them just kind of seemed like this corny self-help. You'll be fine. Like, just keep on going. Like, they all felt like that to me. And I really wanted to feel like somebody knew what I was going through. Someone knew how I felt. Like, because the days are, you never know what's going to happen. Triggers happen. You can see anything. You can be having a great day and something just takes you right back to that place. Yeah. So I wanted to connect with that place. So that's why I shared so many like really raw, embarrassing, humiliating moments, because I wanted another woman, and I want other women who are going through this to be able to relate and connect, and then to know that there is another side, because I'm removed from the actual divorce. Let's see, it was 2016 when it was official, but we were separated for like 5 years. But I can look back at it now and not feel ashamed or embarrassed or sad or, and one thing that was really funny is that now he's remarried. And when he got remarried, people were kind of like, okay.
And he got remarried to that chick.
Look at her face. I wish I could take a picture of Danielle's face. Yes, they are married now. But what was really so funny is that people literally were like checking on me, like, you okay? I'm like, I haven't been with this man in over 5 years. Like, yeah, I'm fine.
Like I know and I hear what you're saying, but that would have been one of those triggers that I feel like would have taken me back. You know what I mean? And it
It
goes to
depends
what
on
Naya
what
was
part
saying
you are
about the
feeling.
not just him, stepping out, but that emotional connection, just that reminder that it was somebody that he connected with on that level while
Mhm.
he was with me. And then it progressed. You married
Now, I didn't send them anything off their registry,
it? Right.
but I definitely was okay with it. And one of the reasons I think why I was so okay with it is that my daughter, my daughter is deeply connected to both of us.
Of course.
So it was cool for me to see her experience that and see that kind of love and to know that she can, it was kind of like this example that she can be in love too, because she hasn't really seen that from my side because I don't bring men around her. So while I date and, I don't I don't introduce her to anyone. So she kind of does this comparison too, like, well, dad's married, like, so what's up
It's
with
your
you?
turn.
Yeah, when are you going to get married? And she really has been asking me that a lot. Probably within the last year or so, which is about how long he's been married. So it's kind of like she's like, "Come on, girl, like it's your turn," and she's doing all that. But honestly, the when I knew that he was getting married, it was, I would say, probably the most raw emotion was like, "Damn."
Mm-hmm.
But the
Like it's
damn
real.
was not about him. It was more about selfishly, like, damn, he beat me
Where
too.
where
Like,
you are, I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it was
Yeah.
more
Yep.
about,
I had a feeling you were gonna go there. Yeah.
yeah, because I
I
mean,
get
because I
that.
do want that, I really do want that again. I want marriage again. And I
Well,
think that's why I'm so careful about who I will partner with to
Right.
do that.
To make
well, if
sure.
it's any consolation, he had a head start while you all were married. So don't beat yourself up too much. You started at the appropriate point, okay?
That was really funny. Oh my God, it's so true. Yes.
So
Mhm.
yeah.
But I
So
get
Your hat.
reminders all the time because let me tell y'all this. This is another moment. I don't know if I wrote this in the blog or not, but one of my prayers while I was going through this was in the very beginning of it. Do I need to put my pride aside and really humble myself and really dig even deeper to fight for my marriage? Do I need to do that, Lord? If not, please show me who this man is so that I
Mhm.
can start healing from it. And
mm.
when I tell you, the good Lord above, Jehovah Jireh, all of them showed me,
Father God.
showed me, yeah, who he is. I'm like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
okay,
Yeah.
And kind of gave you some peace.
okay. Oh yeah, I get those
Okay.
reminders all the time.
Yeah. And
I think that's
if
commendable.
there's any silver lining is that one, you knew there were red flags and you recognized you never should have married him. And so this is, I would look as an experience that you understand a lot about yourself and what you want in your partner, your next partner. And going through that experience, I'm sure your next round of it, if he's out there, you're going to know exactly what you want and what you need in your life to be happy. And so I think that I hope you don't have any regrets about
I
what
don't have
you
any
went through.
regrets. No.
Okay, that's
And we
good.
have
Good.
an
That's good.
amazing daughter that came out of that marriage.
Yeah.
And I can say that we are very good co-parents. Like
Hmm.
that could be the next book that I write. We really are really, really good co-parents. And I love the way that works. I love
Enjoyed
that.
reading in your blog where you talked about how you turn at some point you turned into this bitter baby mama and then he kind of flipped the script on you, but in the end he pulled through with his word. When you sign those papers, he at least stuck to his word in that respect.
I was on fire when that. Oh my God, I was on fire. And one thing I can also say about divorce too is that my sister circle, my girlfriends really, really, really helped get me through.
Yeah.
Like, period. Like I don't know how I could have done it without them. And there's one friend in particular who was always kind of like, she's like this annoying voice of reason. It's not annoying, but it's annoying just because like, oh, you're right.
Like
because
Joy.
yeah, so I was just carrying it so much because the stubborn side of me was just like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not signing it. And she's like, and what are you gaining from that?
Right.
Yeah.
What really, okay, you don't sign it and you still stay married to him. Like, what is that? Do you? And then she was like, and girl, how are you going to find this next man while you're married to this one?
Right.
Oh, that was a word. Ooh,
Okay,
ouch.
friend. Yes.
Father God.
Okay.
It was like, oh, well, you okay.
Gotta have a good sister circle.
Yeah.
So when you were talking earlier, you had said how your purpose for this book is that you wanted to kind of help women through divorce, but then also that there's life after. Let's talk about that life after. Is life good, Reese?
Oh, life after the divorce. Wow. So I think now I've finally figured it out, but it took some time to get there. So the dating drama, wow, that could be another blog. Dating after divorce is crazy. I have met some very interesting people, some good. But one of the guys that I met, he was actually also a reminder that I was never really in love with my husband because we just kind of had this
connection,
instant thing. And when I was trying to figure out what it was about him, I'm like, what was it? Because he really wasn't my type. Like, and I have a type. Like, I have a type. Okay. A lot of them all look alike. They're like, yep, that's Reese right there. Yep.
And I remember you saying you like them 77 inches. 6'7". I remember.
I think if I could describe my perfect guy, he would pretty much be David Banner. I love
David Banner is a good pick.
I'm a David Banner.
Okay, I'm a fan.
Yeah, David Banner kind of girl.
Smart.
So yeah, this joint don't look nothing like David Banner. But he did smell good all the time. And he was like perfectly dressed and, all of this. And I figured out why I was so drawn to him so quickly. And it was because he instantly communicated with me. He was fluent in my love language without me ever having to say a word. He literally just did it. So we never had a discussion about it. He was just attentive. He literally studied me. And he just did stuff, all of these acts of service, just kind of off the top. And that also helped me, even though we're not together now, that helped me to cope with the fact that we probably never should have been. We probably never would have had a happy ever after, whether or not old girl came into the picture or not. So even if, let's just say he never had the affair and we never got divorced, I still think that our marriage would have just been flat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even if we were still married now, it would just have been because, oh yeah, we're coming up on 15 years. Like, okay, let's go to the prom like we always do. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So open to everybody, because Reese, I know you've been answering a lot of questions. It's almost like an interview for you. But what are those?
So I gotta get ready for this press circuit, honey. When this
okay, yes, we
comes
speaking
on.
that into existence.
What are those signs like for you guys, for everyone that says this just ain't it? Like this is not gonna work.
Oh, I got my list. Insecurity is number one. If you're insecure, it's not going to work with me. I mean, I'm just not that if you're insecure, I'm going to make your insecurity worse.
She will, as a true Aries. A true Aries.
Oh, that's what's happening here with us. I'm Aries.
You're an Aries. Well, and Reese, you touched on this.
So I'm really surprised you ain't burn anything down and he has all his appendages.
Now, honey.
That Aries fire.
I think communication.
Yeah.
For me, like once we can't talk about anything or we can't talk openly or, we have to walk on eggshells, then it doesn't matter at that point how attracted we are to each other or how much we love each other, because that's like a big piece of the pie.
That's huge.
So,
Yeah.
Mine is masculinity, and you touched on this earlier, Reese. Like that's just a very, very, very important quality to me, is that alpha nature. And it goes to confidence, actually what Kay spoke to also, like lack of insecurity, very confident, can walk into any room, any circle and just handle himself, check me when need be. That's very
So you want somebody to beat you.
Now, no, there will be no
Ike Turner captivated a room and then checked Tina.
I like Ike without the domestic violence, okay?
I think Columbus is short and single again.
Without the domestic violence.
Right.
Assertiveness. Just stick with assertiveness.
There you go. That's a good word. I'm very into ambition and you being self-motivated. So yeah, I know that sometimes I gotta, pick you back up, but I want you to really be self-motivated and like a natural born leader. So if I don't see that, and if I see that was one of the things, like the red flags or the warning signs or whatever, my ex would always say, I'll back your play. I'll back your play. I'll back your play. Which sounded good, I guess, while it was happening.
Well, why are you backing it?
Right.
So
lead.
I was hearing, oh, he supports me, but it didn't, that's not how it filtered out. It was, oh, back and play. Okay. But then when my play messed up, now you're mad at me. But you didn't really do anything with the play.
Did you have a plan B, an alternative plan? Yeah. Where's yours?
Where's yours, Naya?
I'm kind of with Joy. Communication is really big for me. Only because I think like in a marriage, you have to be able to openly communicate. And sometimes the things that are said and heard within that conversation, it's not always going to be ideal, but it's necessary. And I think that in marriages, in order for you to grow, you have to have open communication in order to know your flaws and, where you're lacking, before you go out when you feel uncovered,
I talk about the difficult conversations, seriously. I'm all about doing that.
Yeah. But how can you get better if you don't know where you're lacking?
And a willingness to get better. So communication and a willingness to work. Because a lot of people, they say that marriage is relationships. It's like a business. Well, then handle your marriage or relationship like a business. And I need you to work because, I'm going to put in the work and I need you to put it in just as well. And when I'm, falling short, then give me that constructive criticism and that feedback that I need to get me back to where I'm supposed to be and vice versa.
One of the things I think is important to say about receiving that feedback is to not be so quick to retaliate. Because when someone's saying something to us that we don't want to hear, that it's a hard pill to swallow, now we're defensive and now we're like, but you just, we ain't say nothing with you. But it ain't about that right now. It's about what they are sharing. And we can give feedback both ways, but a lot of times when we hear something that we don't want to hear, that makes us uncomfortable or that makes us, defensive, then we charge back. Right. And that, I feel like that kind of gets us back at square one. Like, because now we're just both doing this.
Yeah.
So there was one thing in your blogging that just stood out to me. I'm like, I would never, like it was where you, I guess at some point the sex had diminished and you were still willing to work on your relationship. And then I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't think I could do that. Like, I was like, once the sex diminishes, like, I don't see what's salvageable at this point. And I guess that's too, we look at our value system and what we value in a relationship. And so I look at that as like, if the moment I feel like you're not sexually attracted to me, then it's like there's nothing else to salvage, for real.
So that was a weird thing to deal with because I never had that issue before.
Yeah.
But seriously, so with kind of these strong Christian forward values that I brought into my marriage, because we weren't having sex before too. So that's another thing.
Before you got married?
Yeah.
Oh, you did it
for a year and a half.
Way. Okay.
Yeah.
No, they were
so I'm like, I haven't been doing it. So we got some catching up to do.
That is beautiful.
No, it's not.
No.
That's how I did my marriage too.
You can't get into
I
a
did my
marriage and
marriage
you don't
like
know what
that
you're getting
too.
into.
I would
She said, I did my
never
marriage.
do it again. Listen, when me and David Banner get together,
Okay.
we're not waiting until
On and popping.
And guess what? Even when that was happening, I still didn't think there was cheating or anything. I took it. It was, I'm like, what am I? It's me. Like, what am I doing? What am I not doing? Oh my God. Like, all of it.
You said you had a conversation with your self-esteem. I remember that line about rejection and yeah, it was a blow.
Oh girl, that rejection thing is serious and deep.
Yeah. And so before we move on, I want to make sure that we touch on the kind of the generational trauma and lack of a blueprint that you touched on in your blog. You said that like you had daddy issues, he had mother issues, and bringing that into your marriage, and like you all were just winging it basically, and like not knowing what to do and how to make this successful. And there was something that you said about everybody brings gifts to the wedding, but what about the gifts for the marriage? And not meaning tangible gifts, but like advice, like how are we supposed to make this work and get to till death do us part and make this, a fruitful marriage. So I'm really glad that you touched on that in the blog, because I think so many people have that same issue. And it's like, where does it go? Where are the courses? Yeah.
It's actually one of the reasons why, just even in dating now, I'm very cool and probably prefer a man who has been married before. I kind of like a man who's been divorced because, I feel like we got some things to talk about, and it's a good framework for a conversation about what we really want, how we really want it, and kind of the just being really blunt about that. I really like that. I really like dating divorcees.
I'm not mad at you. I used to say that as well.
Yeah, that works for me.
Mention something big, how you see potential and you see the possibility. And that I think that is huge, like in a lot of relationships. I think that's a conversation that girlfriends need to have, is that, you don't marry potential. You don't get into a committed relationship with someone, the possibility of what they can become, because you have to work with who they are right now, this day, because people are constantly evolving and changing into a different form of themselves. So
you gotta love
men. But it's like they say that men, women change, men marry women for who they are at that moment, expecting them not to change. And then women marry men for what they feel like they can be, expecting them to change. And men are simple. I think we make men more complex than they are. Men are pretty simple. They're not complex. And so in many cases, they don't evolve at the rate that women evolve. We evolve like as we go through our different stages, when we turn 30, when we have children, when we, go through these different stages of life, like we change, like we evolve. Men only have like a few stages in life where they change. Like they don't change that much. They're really simple. I think that we just make them more complex than they actually are.
Right. Right.
Kay is absolutely right. I don't think that men are that complex because a lot of times they're telling us, look, chick, this is all I got for you.
I ain't fixed bikes when you met me.
Yeah, this is all I got. But we're like, oh my God, love me, want me, marry me. And he's like, man, I told you from the beginning I was a hoe.
That's very true.
You know what I'm saying? But we're still trying to make somebody more than what they're willing to be. And I think men do the same thing, but I know that I've done that in my past.
Now, see, now let me comment on that though, because my potential isn't trying to necessarily change anyone outside of the core of who they are. It's more so I see the seeds.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's this super dope foundation. You're just not fully developed yet. So it's not a complete pivot on who they are at their core. It's just evolve a little bit.
But Reese, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing your experience. Thank you for being so open and candid with us. We really do look forward to your to seeing your masterpiece, your first masterpiece come into fruition.
New York Times bestseller list.
I like the word first. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, this is just the beginning. Yep. Now we do have a segment, food for thought. We add to the pile of everything we've, just covered, but more to think about before the end of the show. So if you have a few moments, just join us, hang on tight. Kay, you want to take us in?
I sure will. So please bear with me. I'm going to share a lot of information. It might make your brain hurt because it made mine hurt just reading about it. Now, I don't want to be an alarmist, and I hope that I'm wrong, but the writing is on the wall, and it's telling me that we're in for a lot on Election Day up through January. So I took some time and I watched Fox News as much as I could stomach just to see what information Trump supporters are being fed. And it's all fear-mongering. They're working overtime to delegitimize the election before it even begins. And they're making Trump supporters feel like the election and the country is being stolen from them. So the rage and anger on the other side is real. Trump knows he's in danger of losing the election. So his only options are to cheat by doing things like purging voter rolls, passing voter ID laws, undermining the post office, reducing voting stations in minority neighborhoods, and withholding funding from states who are trying to make it easier for people to vote. He's also working overtime to convince his supporters, that the election is rigged so they can take up the fight to keep him in power. And I'm talking about his staunchest supporters, like nationalist groups like the Proud Boys and those Hawaiian shirt-wearing boogaloo assholes. Now, let's be clear. Trump is desperate to stay in power because of his ego. And of course, he wants to keep using the powers of the presidency to enrich himself. But he also has another major motivation. He doesn't want to go to jail. It's clear he's broken many laws, and once he leaves the presidency, he can be charged for his many crimes. Just look at how many of his friends went to jail for crimes related to him. We need to remember just how important this win is to him and why he's so desperate. So we won't know who won on November 3rd because of the large number of people expected to vote by mail. So it will take more time to count all the votes. If the vote count does not favor Trump, to avoid a debacle, he will have to accept the results and support a peaceful transition of power. These are the actions a mature, rational patriot would take for the good of the country. He's not going to do that. That doesn't even sound like him. When asked, he wouldn't even agree to accepting the results. He's telling his clan already that if he loses, the election is rigged, and that clan is willing to fight for him. So what happens if Trump refuses to accept an electoral loss? Unfortunately, the president has a lot of power when it comes to contesting the election results. He could contest the electoral college votes. Let's say if he appears to win a state like Pennsylvania on election night, but loses as the mail-in ballots are counted, he will dispute the electors of that state, saying that they cheated. The governor will assign the Democratic electors for the state based on the actual results. He will claim fraud, and if the state has a Republican-controlled legislature, they can select a new set of electors for the state. And in the electoral dispute, Congress can decide how to handle the situation, but what's the likelihood the Democratic controlled House and the Republican controlled Senate would agree? The vice president can step in to oversee the count in Congress and interpret the law, which could lead them to not counting neither set of electors, pretty much removing the whole state from the count, potentially giving Trump an electoral win. If neither side can agree to a compromise, we're in a full-blown constitutional crisis. The Democrats can dispute Pence's involvement and take it up with the conservative majority Supreme Court, but they may not do it after what happened in Bush v. Gore 20 years ago, and the court will probably be on Trump's side anyway. So, under the 20th Amendment, we have to swear in a president on January 20th. And on January 20th, the Trump-Pence term ends, period. So if we don't know who definitively won the Electoral College by then, what could happen? So under the Presidential Succession Act, Nancy Pelosi would be sworn in as president, resigning her House seat until Biden can be deemed the election winner. Of course, Republicans will contest the Pelosi swearing, and it will pretty much spiral out of control. And who knows what happens next? Expect civil unrest and possibly violence. So what if Trump actually loses but refuses to leave the White House? Believe it or not, our Constitution does not secure the peaceful transition of power, but rather presumes it will happen. The Founding Fathers assumed we would elect adults as president. The military already said they're not going to get involved in his removal, and civilian authorities and courts will have to resolve the issue. We may have to depend on Secret Service to physically remove him from office if he hasn't given them all the coronavirus. But the rules are very murky around this. So be prepared. While Biden is lawyering up, preparing for court battles, Trump is leading a cult of gun-toting idiots who will do anything for their leader. Remember, stand down and stand by. So what can we do? Crush them. Vote and vote early. If you feel safe and comfortable to vote in person on election day, do it, especially if you're in a key state like Pennsylvania, Florida, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Virginia, and North Carolina. Trump and his clan will not have anything to dispute if on November 3rd they're being crushed. Keep in mind, most of his people think the pandemic is a hoax, so they're going to vote in person, probably without a mask, so they will have an election day advantage. If you vote by mail, please carefully follow the instructions to ensure they aren't thrown out, like filling in the bubbles and signing it properly. And lastly, take to the streets if the election is being stolen, like we did for George Floyd. Let's not become complacent. We have to get Democrats to use the full extent of their power, and it won't be easy. It will take a mass and intense movement that could last for weeks and possibly months to stiffen the Democrats' spine. So I know I'm ready to hit the streets, even in the cold, but I hope I'm wrong and it won't come to this because I really hate the cold. So I highly recommend reading the different scenarios I was unable to cover today from the Transition Integrity Project, which is a 20-page document provided in one of the links in the episode description. So, ladies, I don't know about you, but I keep hearing some of the Trump people, like his criminal friend Roger Stone, say he should declare martial law to seize power if he loses the election. I hope it doesn't go this far, but at this point, do you even put it past him?
Is that a serious question?
That's actually a serious question. He actually said that shit.
No. But is that a serious question that we put it past him to like actually enact that? Because I think we've seen evidence that he would 1000% do that. Absolutely. Yeah. When is your book launching? When is it going to be available? Because everybody needs to read this amazingness. Like, definitely go to your blog. Give us all of the things so that people know where to find you.
So we're looking at like first week of December of this year.
Tell us the website for your blog, your IG. Tell us all of that good stuff.
So the blog is on INowPronounceYouDivorced.wordpress.com. So that's the blog. I Now Pronounce You Divorced blog.wordpress.com. Sorry, I left the word blog out. And my IG is at Mamapreneur, MAMAPRENEUR.
Amazing.
And I call myself that because I kind of have my hands in a couple of
everything. You getting them multiple revenue streams, right? God. Well, ladies, this was another fantastic episode. Reese, thank you so much for joining us. I cannot wait for everybody to get familiar with you and read your blog and read your story. And just
call me anytime y'all want these 2 cents for something.
absolutely.
We're gonna hold you to that too.
Yeah, and we're
right?
definitely going to bring you back when the book launches. So,
Thank you.
to everybody who's joining us, thank you so much. Definitely check us out on YouTube, Google, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you catch your podcasts. And, follow us on IG at Crewcial Conversations, CREWCIAL. And we hope to see you next week. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.